the first major conference that I remember, um, we had to go to a happy hour or whatever it was, some networking event in the hotel where the conference was being held. And um, I was just standing there talking, trying to meet and greet with people. And a man came up, said hello, etc. And the first question out of his mouth was asking me how many tattoos I have.
Hmm.
And
Was one of them visible?
well, yeah, so
Okay.
I'm wearing long sleeves today, but I have, well, and at the time I had way less than I do today.
Sure.
But my hair was up and the top that I was wearing had a V-neck sort of like this, but then it also had this same shape in the back. So you could see a couple like from my back, and they're flowers. And I said I didn't know because I had never stopped to count them. I have many. And so he proceeded to start counting them, like one, two, three, with his finger. And
Did he touch you?
yes.
Whoa.
And he like moved my top
What?
and see, because he could see that they kept going.
Wow.
And, I just sort of like, yeah, I don't know, probably 10, and just had my drink and tried to not call attention to the fact that I was uncomfortable because I took a look at his name badge and he worked for a Target customer. That
Of
was
course.
quite literally on my list of meetings for the following day.
Oh, wow.
That are like pre set up. I'm like, well, this is what I'm here for. I'm here to network and I'm here to um get new customers. So
Yeah.
if that's what it takes, great. Okay, whatever. And then actually, funny enough, one of his colleagues came up and rescued me. Um, and ultimately, the first guy, I don't want to say his name,
Of course.
the counter, the count, we'll call him the count, ultimately,
I love it.
left his conversation or our conversation. And then the second guy was like, he's such a creep, like I'll I'll keep him at bay as much as I can, etc. But he is my boss. So I
Mm.
have to tread lightly there. And I was like, oh, fair enough. And I was like, oh, don't worry about it. I can handle myself. If I feel uncomfortable, I can, you know, like, I don't need you,
Mhm. Mhm.
No, I was just lying through my teeth.
Well, but okay. That's actually a really interesting, right? Because there is this I'm trying to think of the word for it. There's this kind of thing in our culture, right, of the damsel in distress, right? So, in situations like this, oftentimes someone comes in to rescue you
Mhm.
instead of stopping the person who
Yeah.
is doing the wrongdoing, right? For one reason or another, I'm not demonizing anybody in that
No, no.
situation, right? It's uncomfortable for everybody in there. They're trying to figure out the way, but it tends to be about saving someone
Yeah.
other than about stopping bad behavior,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Um, and maybe a little bit less so now than it was before, but if we can back up a second,
Mhm.
it seems very obvious. You saw my facial reactions. For those that are listening, you probably couldn't see me. I'm an extremely animated person, and I looked at her and basically said, "Wait, hold up, what?" Like, that's ridiculous, right? Like, which is why we named the podcast this. But I think we should break down, because some people might see that interaction as not that big of a deal, right?
Sure.
Uh, he's trying to spark up conversation. He sees something. Maybe he's a tattoo aficionado and has a bunch himself, and the conversation never got the chance to get there, right?
Mhm.
So at that moment, not with what you know now, okay? What about it was uncomfortable for you?
Um, when he started counting
Mhm,
with his hands, started
mhm.
counting, and, I get it. Tattoos, they're a conversation piece.
Sure.
Um, I would say,
But it was the fact that he touched you
yeah,
without permission or not in an environment where touch
right,
seemed appropriate.
right, and if you could have, like, seen it,
Mhm.
I feel like you would have been like, "Oh, um,
Of course.
that's the way that someone who is, intimately involved with another person would
Mhm.
treat them," It
And did it make you think that if that were allowed to proceed, something worse could happen? Did it trigger something in you that was like, "Hey, wait up, you're invading my space"? Like it's one thing to say, like, yes, you should never touch another human being without their permission. Like, duh. But we also know a lot more today
Mhm.
than we did then, right? And then I think as women, we weren't supposed to react to those things, right? It was like grin and bear it, or oh, he doesn't mean anything bad. He's just a creepy old man, and that's what they do. He doesn't know any better, right?
Yeah.
So, but how did you feel in that moment? Were you scared? Were you annoyed? Were you pissed off? Were you like, wait, what's about to happen?
I was a lot of things. I was grossed out, I think, first and foremost. I was just like, "Ew, this is like, ew, like, what are you doing? You could be my dad," was my first reaction, you know? And then, it sort of brings up old memories,
Mhm.
that kind of blindside you, things that you don't really want to, well, certainly things you don't want to remember at a networking event for your first major conference where you're trying to land a deal,
Of course. Of course.
and I had um a relationship uh where it had nothing to do with the tattoos, but it was the touching that you weren't expecting,
Mhm.
and "Oh, it's okay," it's just
It's
this.
not a big deal.
It's not a big
Yeah.
deal, and then it progresses, and then all of a sudden, you're lying flat on your back and disassociating.
Mhm.
So, I I can't say that I expected anything like that from him because we were in a professional setting, and I had really hoped, and I was there with a lot of people that I trusted. I had really hoped that someone would, stop anything before it started, but
Of course.
I was also standing right there with all of those people that I trusted who witnessed everything and asked me about it later, but also didn't do anything to stop his behavior
In the moment.
in the moment.